Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
We've got an absolutely tremendous show. We've got some great guests on. We're going to talk about some great topics, and it's going to be a lot of information that you'll be able to put to use today to make your life better. And of course, we'd like to thank our sponsors for well over a decade now, the folks at Warren Henry Automotive. We love them. They've been sponsors of our show, helping us bring this content to you now for well over a decade. Remember, when you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's our friends at Warren Henry. Thanks to Eric, Warren, Larry, Ismet, Maytal, and the rest of the team. Gio, I love them all. And now, on with the show. Okay, well, we're on with the Uri Geller of minds, Bruce Turkel. You like that, huh? You like that, how I came up with that. Bruce is our favorite personal branding and personal self-development expert. And is the quintessential definition of all the things he talks about, because he does them first and tries them out on himself and his friends. So I want to thank Bruce for being here today. Bruce, welcome.
Thank you, Jim. Happy to be here.
Now, let's get as current as we can. I got an email from you today about graceful degradation. It talked about an escalator, but it really does really hit home to a lot of the people in the real estate industry, because the escalator has somewhat shifted gears in real estate, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means it's different.
Well, as you know, I wrote my last book, Is That All There Is?, about people who have successful lives and then change, then pivot, do something different. I started writing the book before COVID. And of course, I like to have people believe that I knew this was going to happen. So I wrote the book, but it wasn't true. I wrote a book on people changing their lives right before everybody in the world needed to change their lives. This whole concept of pivoting, of changing, of having a plan B, of trying a new direction, I find it absolutely fascinating. Now, if you layer that on with a couple of the speaking gigs that I've had in the last couple of weeks, believe it or not, I've spoken at 3 different real estate conferences around the country, one here in Miami, one in Portland, and one in Denver, all about people who are in an industry that is changing drastically. And to be fair, not changing because of anything these real estate brokers or these realtors have any control over, changing over external issues, interest rates, demand, what happened after COVID with people moving, geopolitical issues, so many different things are making consumers, buyers and sellers of residential and commercial real estate change the way they operate. Therefore, the people who make their living from this also need to change the way they operate. So I've been looking at different ways of doing this, different ways throughout history, best practices that have worked. And while I was doing that, I came across this concept of graceful degradation. The concept is that things will fail. Building a fail-proof process is impossible. As my friend Dave Bricker says, if you build an idiot-proof device, the world will just invent a better idiot. And I think that happens to be true. Things are going to fail. So the realistic attitude is not, don't believe they're going to fail, just build for sunny days and good weather. But in fact, how do you construct for, and I don't mean construct as in real estate, although that's part of it, but how do you construct your business, your life, your strategy, your organization in Candace's case? How do you construct it to be able to be nimble, to be able to be resilient, to be able to be adaptable? So when things happen, you have alternatives. And again, that's where this concept of graceful degradation comes from. But more importantly, the concept of graceful degradation is that things are going to degrade, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing. And the comedian Mitch Hedberg made a comment that explained it to me perfectly. It was the headline of my article. He said, escalators never fail. They simply become stairs. And it's funny and it's clever, but when you think about it, that's incredibly profound. When an elevator stops working, it's a box, right? If you see an information booth and there's nobody in it, it's a booth. But when an escalator doesn't work, it's still perfectly functional. You can still walk up and down it. So how do we look at ways to use graceful degradation in our lives? And I just think that's a fascinating concept.
Well, 15 years ago, during the Lehman Brothers collapse, I came up with the idea of the radio show, now the podcast, to remain top of mind and create new ideas and share time with thought leaders and build relationships like I'm doing with Candace and the crew Miami folks. And so I think that I've built a pretty good machine. And then I've just begun to evolve into the digital real estate tokenization, securitization. We're going to actually talk about that again on the show next week. And that is actually something I learned a little bit about 10 years ago when I went for a couple of securities licenses. And now I'm putting all of that into play right now. And it's all kind of re-coming together. And it would never, the idea in real estate, real estate capital is that as long as the money's been free, no one's needed to think of anything new. Now that the money became historically priced, and by the way, the interest rates today are basically about where they have been averaged for 30 years. It's just that the government primed everything with all of these free money programs. And now the capital is stopped. Something needs to change. And the way I go through it and I talk about it is that when commercial paper froze, Michael Milken created junk bonds. When real estate financing froze during the RTC days, a guy named Ethan Penner, one of Milken's proteges, created more securities in the CMBS market. Today, capital is frozen. And when I would call people about this idea a year ago, they'd say, hey, money's free, talk to me later. And they would hang up. Now I've got a list of people that want to meet, get demos, get on the platform. And the technology is already existing. My broker-dealer that I'm working with has already invented it, but people aren't aware of it. It needs to be translated into real estate person from tech person. The tech people want to know why people aren't doing this, and there's a couple reasons. First, they don't talk real estate to them. Real estate's a whole language, number one. And number two, when the money was free, they didn't need this. Now that money's not free, I'm getting calls and responses from the biggest real estate operators across the country, the biggest lenders and banks across the country. And it's providing me with the ability to talk to them and do more than just create a pipeline of deals that may or may not happen, but actually create a whole new, as one of the due diligence firms said, a whole new lane. They don't even know how to do the due diligence report to their clients, the family offices, the institutional lenders, and the registered investment advisors. You and I call them stockbrokers, Bruce. That I've invented a whole new lane. And that's what we're talking about here. And again, I have to say, Bruce, thank you so much for being my coach, thought leader, and motivator on all this new thought stuff. Bruce, you're on mute.
I did that on purpose while you were talking, and I told myself I will remember, and I didn't. You are using graceful degradation, understanding, even before it failed, when money was free, understanding that something was going to happen. The example that I use also is I get these emails email marketing from all these guys who do webinars and seminars, and they're trying to sell you something. And it always talks about, what are you going to do? The recession is coming, house on fire, everything's burning down, recession is coming. Well, here's the news flash. A recession is always coming.
Yes.
It's just a matter of when. Yes. And the problem is they don't know when, they just know it's going to happen. So there is no prognostication in telling me that a recession is coming. You know, if you walk into a fortune teller's tent and the first thing they say is, hi, nice to meet you, what's your name? You should turn around and walk out. Because clearly they are not capable of doing what they're recommending they're going to do for you. What I love about you, what you did was you put together this model when there was not necessarily a use for it, because you knew it would hit the fan at some point. You didn't know when, but you were prepared for when it happened. In the introduction to your show, Reagan says something which I love. I wrote it down. He says, Jim Fried, he always has an opinion and he's always willing to share it. You know what it doesn't say? And he's always right, because that's not actually the important part. it will become right eventually. And that's the idea of graceful degradation. We don't know when the escalator is going to fail. If the brakes in your car fail, they have been designed with graceful degradation in mind. The front brake system and the rear brake system are separate. So if the rear brakes fail, the front brakes still work. If you're in an airplane and you're looking out the window and you see one of the engines is on fire, that's something to be scared about. However, airplanes are designed to fly on one engine. So even if 3 go out, the airplane will still fly. The idea is that these things are thought about ahead of time. The great saying, saving money for a rainy day, is a perfect example. We don't know when the rainy day is coming. We do know it's going to come. And you are an excellent example of how you prepared for this. And now people are interested in what you're doing.
I've actually been working on this idea for almost 2 years now. I have a partner in New York that's much smarter than I am. So I like to say that my role in the whole process is to say, hi, I'm Jim. The guy's name is Jim. Hi, I'm Jim. You got to meet Jim in New York. He's my smart avatar. And then he can talk all the technical part. And I'm talking to the entrepreneur. He talks to the capital markets person or their securities person. And basically all I'm really doing is for many, many years, I like to say that the real estate syndication business started on a golf course with 4 people playing golf at the Riviera, since we're in Miami, the Riviera Country Club. There was a developer, an orthodontist, an orthopedist, and a tax attorney. And the tax attorney said to the developer, what if I could help you pull out all your money of that deal? And he turned to the 2 doctors and said, what if I could reduce your taxes 3 or 4 to 1? And that's when the real estate syndication business began. Fast forward to today, and all I'm doing is helping people modernize and cut their costs. All I'm doing is helping them do that real estate syndication, the real estate token. That's the filing cabinet. Now there's no filing cabinet.
So you want to hear an interesting thing? I've heard you talk about what you do a number of times. I've been on your show. We're friends. We've had coffee together. We've worked together. And I've heard you describe it in detail. But I've never before heard you say the words you just said, which is all I'm doing is help people lower their costs, lower their expenses, and control their costs.
Right.
But I've never heard you say that before. And you know that the number 3 rule of the 7 points that we've gone over time after time after time is what? Make it simple. And you just made it simple. I finally understand what you do. I never have before. And you did it by telling a story, which is another thing we've talked about a million times. I know, don't exaggerate. Okay, it was only 100,000. But that no point without a story, no story without a point. Your story of where the syndication market came from, all of a sudden, I get it. I never understood it before. I thought it was just an investment vehicle where people put money in. Never dawned on me that allows the developer to build without their own cash, opium, other people's money. And then it allows people who generate a lot of cash with low expenses to be able to add an expense side to their balance sheet and save taxes and save on cost. I never knew that before you told a story. You just taught me 2 things that you should have taught me years and years ago, or I should have picked up years and years ago. But your simple way of communicating did it beautifully.
We're going to take a quick break. Candace, well, first of all, thank you, Bruce. I actually tell the story in chapters. I go chapter by chapter, and it leads breadcrumbs to where the finish line is. Usually I'm the kind of person, I go straight to the bottom line, but in this case, I have to lead people by breadcrumbs, and by the end, they totally get it. I have all kinds of other little stories with it. But Candace has been so nice to stick with us during this part. I know she has to go in a couple minutes. Candace, let's replug your event here.
Okay, Crew Miami, High Tea, East Hotel, this Friday, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. We're going to have silent auction. We're going to have light bites and drinks and lots of pinkies up.
And the purpose is?
To raise funds for our scholarship fund.
And you've been doing this for years. How much scholarship money have you guys raised over this period of time? You folks, I shouldn't say guys.
Oh, I don't know if I know the exact number, but we do award at least 2 scholarships, $5,000 each every year. We're hoping to increase that.
That's tremendous. Candace, I want to thank you and crew for coming on and being part of the show. I look forward to being a part of your event. The cause is great. I'm always about helping the next generation get a leg up, because the real estate is a mentorship business. And that's what Crew is really all about. I want to thank you and the rest of your team at Crew. Would you like to give a shout out to anybody else from Crew?
Karen Marti, thank you, Karen, for introducing us to Jim and getting us out here. And Bruce, my mind is bent. I think I'm going to tune in later to get the rest of the breadcrumbs.
Well, best of luck with your event, Candace. It sounds wonderful, and it sounds like a wonderful cause.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And now, Mr. Mendoza, it's time for you to do your thing, and we'll be back with Bruce and more great tips after this. So I'm sitting here writing down my notes about what I do, and it's cut costs and increase efficiency. Of course, Mr. Turkel gets right to the bottom line. You know who else gets right to the bottom line? Our sponsors for well over a decade, our friends at Warren Henry. Thank you so much to Larry, Eric, Ismet, Maytal, the whole team, Gio, everybody over there at Warren Henry. We really do appreciate the sponsorship. We really do appreciate how they treat our friends and family as their friends and family. So when you're looking to buy or lease a car, everybody knows you want to get the best experience and the best value that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry Land Rover. Hold on. Finally did it. I've been threatening to do this for weeks. Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, Jaguar, and now Lincoln at their store on 151st and Biscayne. Down in the Keys, they've got a store that sells all the great nameplates. And up in Gainesville, I've been referring my friends that drive Audi up to their Gainesville store. They're tremendous folks up there, great store, great cars. What do all these cars have in common? Well, they're all great cars, and they all come with the Warren Henry Advantage. The Warren Henry Advantage is a great list of things that you get, including, of course, being a member of the Warren Henry family and having them treat you with respect and kindness. You get all kinds of little tchotchke things they do for you, very important things to me, at least. I've lost my keys. They've replaced them. Those keys are really expensive. We learned about how hard they can be to get with that computer chip shortage back in the day. I like to keep my car out of the street so it doesn't get sideswiped. I end up scraping up the rims against the side. They polish up the rims and keep the car looking great over there. When you're trading in your car, you want to make sure you get the best value. They'll guarantee that you are. When you want to buy your car, you want to make sure you're getting the best price for either your lease or purchase. They'll make sure you do. They'll give you 3 days to make sure you like your car. You can trade it back into them. Nobody ever does that because they're all tremendous cars. Join me, my mom, my beautiful wife, Vivian. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry. Well, here we are. We're on the show. We're talking to Bruce Turkel about all kinds of things, including innovation. And I think at this point, everybody kind of knows that I'm a pretty good innovator. Bruce has told me how I'm helping people cut costs and increase their efficiency with my real estate tokenization platform that's coming into view. We've got some great relationships we're bringing to the table, and we're going to talk again about that on next week's show. I'm working with people from all over the world, from New Zealand, Australia, Argentina, Brazil, Canada, Europe, all kinds of people from all over the world are working with us to do this real estate tokenization. It's time for new sources of capital. We're also, of course, still talking to people that do the traditional meat and potatoes of CMBS, land sales, investment advising, and equity contribution. We're helping a bunch of people raise equity and debt for their opportunistic real estate funds, as well as their opportunistic real estate transactions. So if you're looking to participate in the current changing real estate environment, reach out to me. As we've been saying in this entire program, I've been working to be ready for when this happens for my entire career, and gosh darn it, I'm ready. So call me, let me help you. I'll bring my gray hair to the table. I've been through a lot of these cycles. I've survived them all. Let me help you survive and thrive. Remember, and this part goes out, high five to Bruce Turkel, my personal brand is that I self-actualize by helping other people achieve their dreams and goals. I do that by solving their problems and bringing them peace of mind. So reach out, call me, DM me, connect with me. Why? Because whenever you call me, it's always Again, high five to Bruce Turkel. Always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
All right, we're on with Tom Handler, the preeminent tax attorney in the country, is awarded by Tom. You got to bring out that award. I got to see that award. And then we've also got Jim McCarthy, my partner on the Web3 syndication platforms. Mr. Mendoza, ¿dónde están? There they are. You keep mixing them up. One guy's in one place one time and the next place another time. So, Tom, you've been listening to Jim rambling on about our new concept and everything. I know you've been really up to date on this. Do you have any questions that you'd like to ask Jim yourself?
I would, actually. So now stating the fact that the reporting can integrate and be part of the systems that we use for planning to track net worth growth, tax hit growth, so on and so forth. What are the primary benefits to the family of using this token blockchain approach?
Say that there's two benefits. One is just pulling everything together into a digital format that's on the blockchain, so nobody can come back later and say, I didn't see that document. I saw. There's a safety and security aspect to it. The other is if they want to monetize some of their assets, they just have to put the token up onto an exchange. And they can immediately start doing so without having to go through a lot of the hassle that they might otherwise have to.
Jim, how about cost and efficiency?
Well, you automate something, it's always more efficient, and you lower on mistakes, so you don't spend the time double checking and triple checking things because it's all built into the system. So you have operational savings and convenience. As I said, they can check their stuff online instead of having to call you and ask you where it's at. And you get operational efficiencies.
Tom, what else you got? That was a good one.
Well, those are key elements that families can get their arms around and understand fairly easily. I know that some of our clients who are working with tokens and blockchain technology have run into both competition and then sort of just a long learning curve to get people or users up to speed. And those exchanges exist. So, for example, one of our clients manages tokens and runs an exchange for college athletes. So, they can have followers and you get this lovely little token with their stats and data and their photo behind it. It's a way to support your alma mater and its teams, and it's legal and it's all very positive, but it's still, there's a still pretty good learning curve. Like the young people are all over it quickly. The dinosaurs more my age are not so all over it. So how do you overcome that hurdle to speed up adoption and willingness to take a look at it? Obviously, as we die off, it'll become a non-issue. But in the meantime,
right.
What are you going to do with all those baby boomers?
Well, first of all, I think that Jim, there's a definitional discussion that we have to have first, because what Tom is talking about is really an NFT that the athletes are using versus a security token, which is really an investment vehicle that actually comes with something other than somebody's pictures and statistics.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. NFT follows different software format protocols. So it's, I guess it may be more complicated. We don't really do NFTs. But in terms of what we do, the securitization is, everybody's used to reading documents. They get an email with a document and they're used to reading it. So the same thing. Instead of getting an email or going to a Dropbox and clicking on the document and opening it, you go to the dashboard and you click on the document and open it. From your point of view, it's no different than if it was a Dropbox. But from our side, it's a document that's been digitalized onto a blockchain, so it can't be altered. In terms of part of it is now with dashboards. We've gotten further along the line and have dashboards that are simpler to use. In the past, it's been either this complicated thing where you log in here, you put passwords, this or that, and this and that, and have to set up a wallet for your cryptocurrency, and it's very confusing. Over the past 2 years, it's the industry has grown up, and they've come up with software interfaces that are things people are kind of used to now. And it's the backroom stuff that's complicated, and they don't need to know anything about.
Yeah, so it's sort of like a data management thing. And I think that it's also important to point out that this is not a token that's backed by just goodwill and talk. This is really something, there's really data behind it. The data is very well scrubbed and very focused. We've got a whole episode that we've done with the data management folks. Right now the software exists. You can drive it right up to the valuation people and get a certified appraisal from the guys at Cushman or CBRE or whoever you want to use using this data. It's all certified. It's not something some person made phone calls and pulled out of the air. We've only got a couple of minutes left. Tommy, you got another good question? You've been having some good ones.
No, that's about it for now. But I look forward to getting your information so I can try to get more up to speed on it, and then share it with my real estate partners in our commercial practice group to see the applications. And they're much more familiar with this than I am. I'm kind of the end user. Once I know it's there, I love having, if this can replace a data room and I can get an updated net worth statement every year, which then tells me what happened, what didn't happen, were the gifts appropriate, do we leverage them correctly, are the discounts maximized in the process. That's kind of my world. That's where I'm coming from. But from the deal guys, they have a whole additional set of benefits of having, in effect, that deal warehouse all put together that can't be modified with a level of security that is not all that common. So I get it fundamentally, but I need to learn more.
Well, we'll wrap up. We'll send you after, outside of the show, I'll send you some of the stuff that we have, Tom, for you to review. We can set up a demo with the Oasis Pro guys, the folks that we're working with, first for you, and then, later on for the rest of your team. We really do appreciate you making time together to be with us together today. And if you want to stay, we're going to, for a couple of minutes in the green room, we can get things set up and coordinated. I want to thank Jim McCarthy, who from the past couple of years has been my partner on this. I always like to say my job is, hi, I'm Jim. Meet the smart guy over there. His name is Jim too, but he doesn't look anything like me.
Oh, it's that way.
Well, my thing is it's over there. I'm with the smart guy, the handler. I want to thank Tom Handler for making time on his busy schedule, for being with us and always bringing a lot of fire and good positive energy and good thoughts and great access to wonderful ideas and people here to the show. I want to thank Mr. Mendoza for putting it together. I want to thank our sponsors, Warren Henry and the University of Florida Center for Real Estate Studies. I love mentoring the students from UF, FIU, and UM, and the rest of the folks that I mentor. Remember, we always drop a new podcast at noon on Wednesdays. I want to thank our team for helping us put it together. And I want to remind everybody, my personal brand is that I self-actualize by helping other people achieve their dreams and goals. I do that by solving their problems, as you can see today, and bringing them peace of mind. So reach out to me, DM me. Remember, when you call me, it's always all about you. We'll be on with a new live show next Wednesday at noon. And remember, everybody, the person who wants to do something finds a way. The other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Mr. Mendoza, your time to shine.